I think the biggest mistake is saying nothing. The biggest mistake is just never engaging the topic because it's just too fearful. And that really doesn't trust God to work. Despite millions of obstacles, it's amazing what God overcomes. And the more you would hear people's stories, the more you would see, boy, that doesn't seem too likely, and yet God can override that. So the biggest mistake is staying quiet or silent. There are some cultural sensitivities that we need to know. I mean, just for example, we chose to call this book Engaging with Jewish People, not Engaging with Jews. The word Jew, yes, that's the word that's used in the New Testament. When we read in the Gospels, Jesus talked to the Jews. But in Jewish people's ears today, that word has a different flavor because of the Holocaust. Hitler talked about the Jews in a very derogatory term. It was the word Jew that Jewish people had to wear on an armband to identify themselves to be killed. So it's important, I think, for Gentile people to learn to talk, just use terms like Jewish people or Jewish, not Jews or not the Jews. I've even heard some Gentile people say, oh, I love the Jews. And they think that they're saying a very positive thing, but in Jewish ears, that's a painful statement. And there are a number of different terms like that. I think it's far better to talk about Jesus the Messiah than Jesus Christ. Christ, we have a long history of being called Christ killers. And so the word Christ in our ears is very often the first half of a very horrible term. But the Messiah, not only it doesn't have that negative flavor, it's more accurate of what we want Jewish people to know about Jesus. He's the Messiah. He's the anointed one. He's the one who was prophesied to be the atoner for sins and the one who is going to bring in a kingdom of peace and shalom. So there's some terminology that I think is important. Gentile Christians think a good starting point to talk to their Jewish friends is, well, how do you get your sins forgiven if the temple isn't still standing? And for a lot of Gentile Christians, that's this major, major issue. I mean, well, how do they, they used to make sacrifices. They can't do it anymore. The temple's not there. It's a non-starter for Jewish people because they don't, I don't know. God knows that the temple's not there, so he wouldn't require something as ridiculous as that. So I don't know. It's just, and they really want to get traction out of it, and it just doesn't go anywhere. It can almost be funny. There's no temple there. Yeah, but so how do you get your sins forgiven? I guess God forgives me. Well, how can he do that? Well, he's God. I mean, this doesn't sound too hard for him, and it goes nowhere.